Hey, 49ers fans, let's dive into the latest updates and break down what we can expect from this upcoming clash with the Los Angeles Rams. Whoever ends up taking the quarterback spot for San Francisco, whether it's Brock Purdy or M. Jones, is going to need absolute protection from the offensive line. It's that simple. If the offensive line struggles, it's going to be a long, grueling night because the Rams' defensive front is one of the most formidable units in the NFL right now. They have depth, talent, and a mix of established stars and breakout players that can completely change the course of a game. On top of that, their offseason acquisition of Poona Ford gave them a solid, run-stopping presence in the middle. But the real game-changer is second-year star Jared Verse. He won Defensive Rookie of the Year last season and has already shown flashes of being capable of Defensive Player of the Year in the near future. Verse has been an absolute terror through the first 4 games of the season, combining elite pass-rushing ability with solid run defense. And his speed, agility, and awareness make him a nightmare matchup for any offensive tackle. For San Francisco, Colt McKivitz and Trent Williams are going to have to be at their very best to contain him. McKivitz has one of the best pass-blocking grades in the league so far, but even the most reliable linemen can get exposed when facing an elite talent like Verse. Trent Williams, while still talented, hasn't looked quite like the dominant force of previous years, and age and worse starting to show. A strip sack or even sustained pressure from Verse could completely shift momentum, just as pressure and hits on the quarterback did for the 49ers against Jacksonville last Sunday. Turning to the Rams' offense, all eyes are going to be on Puka Nacua, and he has been absolutely dominant this season. If San Francisco's defensive line struggles to get home like they did, or rather, failed to do, against Jacksonville, Stafford is going to have all the time in the world to pick apart the defense. He'll work through his progressions, find mismatches, and Puka Nacua will exploit every opportunity, using his size and physicality to create separation even when the defenders are in position. Through 4 games, Nacua has been targeted 50 times and has hauled in 42 receptions. That's an absurd number, averaging more than 10 catches per game. He's already racking up over 50 yards per reception if you extrapolate, and the touchdowns will inevitably come as the season progresses. If San Francisco is forced to match him up against someone like Darrell Luttrell Jr., it could be a mismatch the defense struggles to contain. The 49ers' defensive line absolutely must step up. Their performance against Jacksonville was concerning, to say the least. No sacks, no quarterback hits, and a lack of hustle and pursuit on plays beyond the initial contact left a lot to be desired. Without Nick Bosa, the unit was expected to pick up the slack, but that energy and motor simply weren't there, and the result was a defensive showing that bordered on inexcusable. When the defensive line fails to generate pressure, the rest of the defense gets stretched thin, and it creates a domino effect that allows explosive runs and quick passes to turn into big plays. One of the main issues this season has been the run defense and the rush attack. Kyren Williams has been running effectively for the Rams, and the 49ers' inability to stop the run allows teams to execute play action with confidence. The Rams' offensive line and running game are establishing the pace, and when Matthew Stafford has time to throw and his team can mix and run effectively, it creates a nightmare scenario for any defense. For San Francisco, the defensive line has to create disruption consistently. Even a single strip sack, forced fumble, or well-timed pressure could turn the momentum. Fred Warner's awareness and ability to generate turnovers is crucial, but he cannot do it alone. Every lineman needs to contribute, close gaps, maintain gap discipline, and pursue plays relentlessly, something that was notably absent against Jacksonville. Offensively, the 49ers are facing their own set of challenges. The offensive line has struggled, particularly in the interior, and that has limited the team's ability to establish the running game. Chris McCaffrey has been doing his part, showing versatility and skill both on the ground and through the air, but even he can only do so much when the line cannot sustain blocks or open lanes. McCaffrey is 3rd in the league in all-purpose yards, but the team is still struggling to translate that into sustained drives and touchdowns. They're the only team without a rushing touchdown so far, and that's a glaring issue that needs urgent attention. When the running game fails, The team is forced into predictable passing situations, which only plays into the hands of a defense like the Rams. On top of that, there's uncertainty at the quarterback position. Brock Purdy hasn't been 100%, and Jones stepping in could be a gamble. The Rams have the depth, talent, and experience to exploit any hesitation or mistakes, meaning the margin for error for San Francisco is razor thin. Special teams have also been a weak link, and recent performances highlighted how costly that can be. Dropped passes, poor coverage, and mistakes in the return game have compounded the problems on both sides of the ball. Losing the turnover battle by a significant margin in the NFL usually translates to a loss, and the 49ers have seen that firsthand. Every phase of the game must perform almost perfectly if they hope to stay competitive against a fully healthy, well-coached, and dynamic team like the Rams. Kyle Shanahan's preference to establish the run and control the tempo through his outside zone scheme is sound in theory, but execution has been lacking. When the running game works, San Francisco can dictate pace, momentum, and field position, but the inability to sustain it this season has forced the team into high-risk situations, making the offense less balanced and easier to defend. In the passing game, McCaffrey has been outstanding as a receiver out of the backfield, catching a high volume of passes, gaining solid yards after the catch, and providing a reliable outlet for the quarterback. Yet, the heavy reliance on him signals that the rest of the wide receivers haven't been consistently getting open downfield. If the quarterback cannot distribute effectively to the full range of targets, the offense becomes one-dimensional, and defenses like the Rams can key in and create disruption. For San Francisco to have a chance, the offensive line must hold, the running game must gain traction, the quarterback must stay upright, and the defense must generate pressure on Stafford. Every player has to execute at a high level simultaneously, because the Rams are strong, disciplined, and capable of exploiting even small mistakes. Considering injuries, short weeks, and the quality of the opponent, the 49ers face an uphill battle. The Rams are deep, talented, and have a lineup that allows them to maintain consistency throughout all 60 minutes of the game. San Francisco's margin for error is minimal, and any lapse in focus, technique, or execution could be exploited by a team as skilled and opportunistic as Los Angeles. On the road and facing such a formidable opponent, perfection isn't just desired, it's required. With all these factors in play, the matchup shapes up as one of the toughest tests the 49ers have faced this season, where both offense and defense will be tested in ways they haven't been challenged since the departure of key players like Nick Bosa. The stakes are high, the pressure is immense, and the level of execution required across all phases of the game will define whether San Francisco can compete or if they'll be overpowered by the Rams' superior talent and depth. Now let's talk about the intricacies of how this game could unfold and why the margin for error for the 49ers is almost non-existent. Offensively, establishing the run is not just a preference. It is an absolute necessity. Kyle Shanahan's offensive system thrives when the running game sets the tone early. When San Francisco is able to generate consistent yardage on the ground, it opens up play-action passes, forces defenses to respect the threat of the run, and creates opportunities for explosive plays downfield. However, the offensive line has struggled mightily this season, especially in the interior and red zone situations, which has prevented the running game from truly taking off. Chris McCaffrey has shown flashes of brilliance, averaging just over 3 yards per carry, but numbers like that are not going to be enough to sustain drives against a team like the Rams. The inability to run the ball effectively forces the 49ers into predictable passing situations, putting the quarterback under pressure and allowing the defensive line to dictate the flow of the game. Even when Purdy or Jones has time to throw, the lack of a running threat means that defenders can key in on routes, press receivers at the line, and disrupt timing. McCaffrey has been a reliable safety valve, catching short passes and turning them into positive yardage, but relying too heavily on a running back in the passing game signals an imbalance that a defense like Los Angeles can exploit. If wide receivers cannot get open downfield, the quarterbacks are forced into high-risk throws or checkdowns, which ultimately limits the team's explosiveness. The 49ers need their skill players to perform at the highest level and create separation against defensive backs who are not only talented, but also extremely disciplined in coverage. On the defensive side, generating pressure on Matthew Stafford is absolutely vital. Stafford excels when he has time to survey the field, find mismatches, and exploit defensive weaknesses. If the 49ers cannot collapse the pocket and force Stafford into hurried decisions, the Rams' passing game could dominate. Puka Nacua, in particular, represents a matchup nightmare. Even when he is tightly covered, his size, physicality, and ability to use leverage allow him to gain separation and secure contested catches. This puts immense pressure on linebackers and secondary players, especially if San Francisco is missing key personnel due to injury. Defensive backs will need to be disciplined in coverage, maintain proper angles, and communicate flawlessly to prevent the kind of explosive plays that have plagued the 49ers earlier this season. The defensive line's ability to collapse the pocket, create disruption, and force turnovers is the difference between a competitive game and a blowout. Without that pressure, Stafford has the luxury to pick apart the defense methodically. Special teams continue to be a weak link, and that's another area that could impact the outcome significantly. Missed tackles, blown coverages, and inconsistent punting or kick returns can swing momentum in an instant. The Jaguars game was a perfect example of how special teams errors can compound offensive and defensive struggles, turning close opportunities into quick scores for the opposition. In the NFL, games are often decided by one or two key plays, and when a team is underperforming in multiple phases, those moments tend to go against them. San Francisco cannot afford another special teams meltdown. Every player must execute, from coverage units to returners, because even a single misstep can undo hard work elsewhere on the field. Another critical factor in this matchup is the mental aspect of the game. The 49ers are facing a team they know very well, but familiarity can be a double-edged sword. The Rams have had time to study San Francisco's tendencies, identify weaknesses, and plan specific strategies to exploit them. On the flip side, the 49ers need to adapt quickly, making game adjustments, and avoid predictable patterns. Mistakes, miscommunications, or slow reactions could be capitalized on immediately by a team as experienced and well-coached as Los Angeles. Injuries and short weeks make this even more challenging, leaving less room for experimentation and requiring every snap to be executed with precision. Time of possession and tempo are going to play a significant role in this game. The 49ers have historically been able to control the pace when they establish a lead and run effectively, but that formula has been difficult to replicate with the current offensive line struggles. If the Rams can dictate tempo, force San Francisco to play from behind, and exploit mismatches both on the line and in the secondary, the pressure will mount. The team's youth and injuries add another layer of difficulty. When facing adversity, every mental and physical mistake is magnified. Turnovers, missed assignments, or penalties could snowball, creating a situation where even a small deficit becomes insurmountable. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to 49ers Zone and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the San Francisco 49ers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In what is already sending shockwaves through the NFL community, the San Francisco 49ers have officially announced JALEN RAMSEY as the new leader of their secondary, a move that has pundits and fans buzzing with speculation about what this means for the team's defensive identity. While the 49ers have kept their press release short and polished, insiders hint at a deeper story behind Ramsey's sudden elevation. Sources close to the team suggest that this isn't just a formal title. Ramsey, widely regarded as one of the premier cornerbacks in the league, has been quietly taking charge in meetings and on the practice field for weeks, if not months. His voice, often described as both authoritative and unapologetically candid, reportedly carries weight among the defensive backs room. Several players are said to have rallied around his leadership, viewing him as the figure capable of transforming a secondary that has struggled at times under pressure. The timing of the announcement has sparked intense chatter. Some analysts speculate that the 49ers are signaling a shift in strategy, perhaps leaning on Ramsey's veteran presence to mentor younger corners and elevate the entire defensive unit. Others wonder if this is a subtle message to the rest of the NFC West. The 49ers secondary is no longer a potential weak link, and Ramsey is its new standard bearer. Of course, wherever Ramsey goes, headlines follow. There's a palpable sense that this decision will ripple across locker rooms and rival scouting reports alike. Opposing quarterbacks might now think twice before testing San Francisco's perimeter, while fantasy football enthusiasts are already recalculating the defensive impact in weekly projections. Meanwhile, fans are divided between excitement and cautious optimism. Can Ramsey transform a talented but sometimes inconsistent secondary into a dominant force? The buzz suggests he already has. Whether this leadership title translates into on-field dominance remains to be seen, but one thing is clear. The 49ers are betting that Ramsey's swagger and skill set are the spark their defense has been craving. And if early whispers are to be believed, this is only the beginning of a story that could redefine the 49ers' defensive identity in 2025 and beyond. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the San Francisco 49ers, make sure to subscribe to 49ers Zone and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.